From CBS 2 News, this is a special report.
Governor Murphy is giving an update on the coronavirus pandemic in New Jersey. Let's go to it now.
Good morning. I'm honored to be joined by the woman to my right who needs no introduction, the Commissioner of the Department of Health, Judy Persichilli. To her right, the state's epidemiologist, Dr. Christina Tan, another familiar face. Thank you both. To my left, State Police Superintendent Colonel Pat Callahan, another guy who needs no introduction. Jared Maples is with us from the Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. Thank you all for being here. We're a bit earlier than usual today because there is a 1 o'clock White House video call, so we'll work to keep things brief and move along this morning. I want to lead with several important announcements. First, to the class of 2020, I am proud to say that you will have your opportunity to join with your classmates and families to celebrate your graduation. The Department of Education and the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education will both release guidance on this tomorrow, Wednesday, to allow for outdoor graduation ceremonies to celebrate our students' accomplishments starting July 6th. This guidance will include social distancing requirements and other necessary health and safety measures. Additionally, given that some graduating classes may be too large to accommodate a crowd within the restrictions in place for outdoor gatherings, this guidance may require multiple ceremonies to be held across different times and even different days to ensure proper social distancing. Our goal is to ensure that our students are given the send-offs they richly deserve, in which they have been working toward. We want them to celebrate and to be celebrated by their families, friends, and the educators who helped get them there. Certainly, these will be graduations unlike any others. The steps we are taking are necessary to ensure the health and safety of everyone in attendance, but we are equally as confident that no one will ever forget the way we will celebrate the class of 2020. Amen to that. You may ask a question that we don't have an answer to, so please wait for the guidance, and that is, as of July 6th, what is going to be the limit in terms of folks we're allowed to gather out of doors? The health data will guide that and dictate that and direct us toward that, but we would want to give folks, particularly the districts that are organizing this, plenty of advance notice in terms of what sorts of capacities we're talking about, so bear with us on that if you could. Secondly, I want to point out a portion of the executive order that I signed on Friday. And in particular, I want to reiterate that my order expressly makes it possible for the professional sports teams which train or play in New Jersey to return to training camps or even competitions if their leagues move in that direction. We have been in constant discussions with these teams about the protocols they will have in place to protect the health and safety of the players, coaches, and team personnel. We know they have facilities where proper sanitation and hygiene practices can be readily maintained. I recognize that obviously not all of our sports are back, and we continue our work with all stakeholders, including, if not especially, youth sports leagues, to hopefully see their resumption in the near future. But where professional teams are concerned, and with the facilities and resources they have to meet the demands of public health, we felt we could take that step forward. And finally, a non-COVID-19 announcement, but one which is directly related to our restart and recovery. The Federal Railroad Administration today is awarding $91.5 million to Amtrak and NJ Transit to get the replacement of the obsolete Portal Bridge moving forward. This is a huge win for our state, for our commuters, and for the future of our economy. And quite frankly, given the economic power of the Northeast Corridor, it's a win for our entire nation. Replacing the antiquated and unreliable Portal Bridge with a modern and reliable span will mean fewer headaches for commuters and travelers and better on-time performance for our mass transit system. This has been a team effort. This is the ultimate. It takes a village. From our administration to our federal delegation, especially and including Senators Menendez and Booker, Representatives Bill Pascrell, a longtime champion, and Albio Ceres, Donald Payne Jr., and Tom Malinowski, who I might add each sit on the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. I want to thank each of them. And I also want to thank the Trump administration for hearing our case and coming down on the right side for our state and our future. Now let's keep moving forward and building the new Portal Bridge. Since we were last together on, it seems like a million days ago, Judy and Tina and Pat, it was only on Friday, I've had a lot of one-on-one conversations, most of which have related to direct federal cash assistance. One that stands out that was not specific to that was I had a good conversation with the president late afternoon on Friday about houses of worship. But the other conversations were almost exclusively about the need for federal cash assistance and wargaming, how we could advance that case. So individuals with whom I spoke included Leader Chuck Schumer, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senators Menendez and Booker, Governors Larry Hogan, who chairs the National Governors Association, Roy Cooper in North Carolina, Andy Beshear in Kentucky, Janet Mills in Maine. Also spoke with Chairman Frank Pallone about this, and over the weekend with Randy Weingarten, who is the president of AFT, and I'll be on a town hall with her members across the country tonight. Again, have to reiterate and underscore, particularly given the budget that we announced on Friday, the stub period through September 30th, the need that we have, the overwhelming need we have for direct federal cash assistance. It isn't just a New Jersey reality. It isn't just a blue state reality. It isn't about legacy issues. It's an American reality, red and blue states alike. And frankly, it's, in my opinion, the best lever we could pull as a country to get our economy back up on its feet and at the same time keep our first responders, our firefighters, police, EMS, healthcare workers, educators. Let's keep them employed. Let's keep them at the point of attack. Let's keep them servicing our residents at our greatest hour of need, literally in our state's and country's history. With these, let's take a look at the overnight numbers. Yesterday, we received an additional 703 positive test results for a current statewide total of 155,764. May I just say this before we move on? I think Judy would want me to say this, and I think she's going to give you a much more professional and sense of correlations here. We think these numbers are distorted by the holiday weekend, both in terms of testing as well as, sadly, the fatalities that we report. But even with that being said, the trends continue very meaningfully in the right direction. And that includes ones that are money good, which you'll see in a minute, things like hospitalizations. Here's the trend line of the new cases. As you can see, it's going in the right direction. Again, we know there's a lag in a weekend reporting, especially in a holiday weekend. It may take a few more days for these numbers to smooth out. However, in this case, we know that our most accurate measure will be from the daily positivity or spot positivity rate for test samples, in this case, from May 21. So that's last Thursday, and that number is 5%, and that is a very good number. We can see on the map that nearly every county is the lightest shade, meaning the spread has slowed considerably, and our hospital data will bear this out. Looking at our long-term care facilities, the new cases continue to be far down from the peak. There was over 30,000 of them, so let's not make light of that. And the numbers of lab-confirmed deaths associated with our long-term care facilities also continues its decrease, but again, 4,768 lab-confirmed fatalities of blessed souls in our state and long-term care facilities. And again, where our long-term care facilities are concerned, our National Guard and the clinical staff from the Federal Veterans Administration remain on hand to help us protect residents. In our hospitals, the number of patients currently being treated for COVID-19 has fallen to 2,723. This is down by roughly 1,500 over the past 2 weeks. Our field medical stations reporting 45 patients. This is a breakdown of total hospitalizations across regions. The number of patients reported in either critical or intensive care is now at 786. That's down roughly 450 persons from 2 weeks ago. Ventilator use sits at 578. That's down 350 from 2 weeks ago. New hospitalizations yesterday, 134. Live discharges, 131. Here are the numbers charted across the region. To be sure, we continue to see many positive signs that we can keep moving forward. The key metrics from our hospitals continue to move in the right direction. We are way down from our peak, and key indicators keep falling. The progression across the past 2 weeks has been constant and undeniable. The green light, as you know, means a day we saw a decrease where we needed to, and we're seeing many more good days than bad. We see this across regions. And again, the one that Judy and her team, and I will add myself to that keep the closest eye on is the fluctuations in new hospitals where there's a lot more red balls. Just to remind everybody, though, the experts would want us, and we do on those graphs that we show you, you typically show 3 or 7 day moving averages because you do get spikes up and down in any given day, and that may not be demonstrative of in fact what's going on underneath. We're hopeful that nothing will change in the near future given how many residents and visitors were out across our state throughout this past weekend. Each day brings with it surer signs that we're moving closer to be able to enter phase 2 of our economic restart, but we also have to balance our optimism with this reality. Among our neighbors and other major states in the country, we still lead in some indicators that we would rather not. And you could see new cases per 100,000. We're now comfortably in second place. That's a good thing, I guess. Patients in hospitals per 100,000. We continue to lead the nation in new deaths per 100,000. We're just behind Connecticut. So we want to see those numbers continue to get better as well. But from my personal observations on the boardwalk, and we went for a run on the boardwalk in Seaside Park, and we strolled up and down and got some coffee and hung out in Seaside Heights. After that, we saw plenty of residents taking responsibility. Social distancing, specifically social distancing and wearing a face covering. I have to admit, Mother Nature helped because the weather was god-awful. It was cold as heck, so there weren't many people on the beach. Decent amount on boardwalks. Those were all, what we saw were all very good signs that the practices that are now part of our routines will continue to put us in a strong position to move into the next phase of our restart and recovery in the not too very distant future. Before we flip over, the anecdotal evidence, Pat, you'll get to this, was decent around the state. I had an exchange this morning with Catherine McCabe, our Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection. County parks and state parks in the western counties filled up to capacity pretty quickly in a bunch of cases because the weather was better in that part of the state. Face coverings, anecdotally, and I think Catherine agreed, and I think we all feel this, are going in the right direction, but they're still not where they probably need to be, particularly where social distancing is not as achievable. And so we'll continue to monitor that very carefully. Again, Mother Nature, did we learn a lot of lessons from this weekend? I'm afraid only to a degree, particularly on the shore, because the weather just wasn't good for the most part. It got decent yesterday, but by that point, a lot of folks had packed up. We're going to get warmer weather beginning today and over the next number of days. My guess is it'll be more seasonable this weekend. And again, just ask everybody to keep doing what you're doing. Social distancing, face coverings wherever you can, the basic washing hands with soap and water, just being responsible. You've been extraordinary. No state's been better. We just got to keep that up as we continue to open things up. So for all of that progress, with the heaviest hearts today, we announced another 54 of our fellow New Jerseyans have passed due to COVID-19 related complications. Our statewide total now stands at 11,191. As we do every day, let's recall a few of them now. First, we recall Julian Caprone. He was only 45 years old. Julian was born in Jamaica. He came to the United States as a child, and with his family, they called Fairview home. For the past 10 years, he worked as a security officer at the Meadowlands Sports Complex. He leaves behind his wife, Nanda, with whom I had the great honor of speaking yesterday, and 2 stepchildren, Angelica and Vikram, and his almost 2-year-old step-grandson and other family members, all of whom he loves so much. Julian was also a great animal lover and loved a whole plethora of dogs. Nanda, it should be noted, was successful in her own battle with COVID-19 and has since returned to her job with American Airlines at Newark Liberty International Airport. And we send our best wishes for her continued health, even as we extend our condolences to her and everyone who knew and loved Julian. Nanda summed up her husband best with the following, and I quote her, "Nothing was impossible for him to do as long as the end result made you happy." Boy, wouldn't that be great if everyone was like that? Perhaps that's the best way any husband or spouse could ever wish to be remembered. God bless you, Julian. Next up, this is Marquita Hobbs, an award-winning career paraprofessional at Essex County West Caldwell Technical School for the past 40 years, where she was beloved by students and staff alike. But Marquita was just as involved outside the classroom, and she and her family were active participants in the community, whether it was for breast cancer awareness with the Clinton Memorial Church or with the Paction Consortium in Newark, which presented her with its Unsung Angels Award in 2013. And speaking of family, Marquita was the one who took on the task of planning reunions and keeping the bond among the generations so strong. She leaves behind her husband, Cornell, with whom I had the great honor to speak yesterday, who himself, by the way, is recovering from COVID-19. Please keep him in your prayers. And their children, Cornell Hobbs III and Tiffany Hobbs. She also leaves her brother Julian and sisters Deborah and Patricia and their families, including many nieces and nephews, among many other family. And Marquita was only 64 years old. And of course, she leaves many colleagues and students who also loved her dearly. May God bless you, Marquita, and may her legacy of selflessness service be a beacon for all. Finally, today we remember Elizabeth Fulop, the grandmother of the handsome guy to her left, Jersey City Mayor Steve Fulop. She passed away at the age of 95. I had the honor of going back and forth on a number of exchanges with Steve, expressing our thoughts and prayers for his grandmother. She was a strong woman who lived independently in Bloomfield until she was 94 years old. Born in Romania, her route to the United States was circuitous. She and her husband, Bensi, left their native Romania after being forced to live in a Jewish ghetto during World War II, moving first to Israel, then eventually to America and New Jersey, specifically Essex County. She worked alongside her husband, Bensi, and her oldest son, Arthur, at the family-owned Newark Deli that stood next door to City Hall. Elizabeth is remembered for her strong will, outspoken, offering her opinion regardless of whether or not you wanted it, and independent, living again on her own until she was 94 years old. However, the abiding quality that she will be remembered for was her generosity. Whether it was for a charity, a family member, or a stranger, it did not matter. If someone needed help, they knew they could count on Elizabeth. She leaves behind her sons, Arthur, Steve's dad, and by the way, Steve and his dad and mom have had tragedy over the past couple of years in their family, having lost Steve's brother, and Elizabeth's other son, Eugene, 5 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. May her memory be a blessing. God bless you, Elizabeth. 3 more great members of our New Jersey family, which COVID-19 has taken away. And as we continue our restart and recovery, we will remember them because we cannot fail their memories by needlessly putting the lives of others in danger. But as I noted, the reports from across our state were overwhelmingly positive. So I want to give each of you a huge thank you for making this weekend a success. Thank you for taking to heart your greater responsibility to your communities, to your families, and to your fellow New Jerseyans. I've said it many times before, but we are all in this together, and this weekend showed how strong our New Jersey family is. Finally, before I close, I want to note the passing of a legendary New Jerseyan, one whose name may not have been recognized in every household, but whose work certainly would be. Candace McKee Ashmun. There she is. She dedicated her public life to the conservation of our state's historic and environmental legacies. She was the last surviving original member of the Pinelands Commission, appointed by Governor Brendan Byrne to ensure that one of our state's true natural gems would be protected for future generations. The heck with states natural gems. It is one of America's true natural gems. Although she was from Somerset County, she recognized the need for preservation, and she was known as the godmother of the New Jersey pines. She served on numerous other boards and commissions. Her work still guides us. And so we note Candace's passing at the age of 96, and God bless her soul. With that, I will turn things over to the person who needs no introduction, the woman to my right, the Commissioner of the Department of Health, Judy Persichilli.